one thing y'all have a habit of doing is making me realize and remember, funny I say remember, that my memory is trash. My memory is straight trash. I look at a post or somebody put up something like this, chicken used to bleed when you cook it, and I go, oh, you know what? It did used to bleed. Like, it just, y'all got a habit of humbling me, man. But we're gonna get to it, all right? So listen, man, y'all know how this goes. Question everything. You should. And remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Let's get to it.
You actually came on.
Say the weird thing. Say the weird thing. Okay, I'ma just say it. Chicken used to bleed. Ask your mama, ask your grandma. Chicken used to bleed. When you baked it, when you fried it, the blood used to come up out of the chicken. Sometime between, I don't know, 2018, don't quote me. Don't quote me. Sometime between 2018 and now, they took out the real chicken and gave us, I don't know what it is. I'm gonna show y'all something right here. Where's the blood? Where's the blood? Oh, look, we got a little bit right here. I don't know what we've been eating, but we all know that there's not nearly enough chickens to accommodate human needs at all. Where's the blood, y'all? Where's the blood?
You actually came on.
I'm serious, man. Like, literally, like, I'm like, this one messed my head up a little bit. Because, of course, I know when you kill the chicken, it bleeds, but it's still supposed to. And I can't, for the life of me, remember as much chicken as I've cooked. I can't remember when seeing it bleed like it used to. Like, for that reason, I'm so, like, each day getting skeptical about the things we're putting in our body and eating. Even though I had a 10-piece lemon pepper yesterday, but that's besides the point. That's besides the point. Stuff is sketchy out here.
Chocolate recalled by FDA highest risk level in America.
Highest risk level. The FDA issues a recall for several chocolate products because of undetected ingredients, recently elevating 3 of these items class 1 of highest potential risk, and it will unalive you. You know what I mean? So tell a friend, leave out the chocolate thing for right now. You know what I mean? Because as we said, the FDA just elevated its highest chocolate recall. So people, spread the message now. Cup full, always be grateful in your cup full. Remember, your health is your wealth.
Chocolate recalled by...
Who still eats chocolate? Like, not trying to be funny or nothing, but what chocolate do y'all eat? You know? I don't do the chocolate. Never really liked the taste of like the dark chocolate or anything like that. What was the chocolate that used to come in a blue pack with like the silver? What was the name of it? I can't recall the name of it. Again, memory, horrible. Y'all know that about me by now. But like a Snickers, I used to rock with Snickers. I never was like, you know what I mean? And they don't consider that chocolate. But that's as close as I consider myself getting to chocolate. Other than that, no, man. My Achilles heel when it comes to like candy and stuff like that wouldn't be chocolate. It'd be Snickers and Reese's Cups. You know? But what's y'all's go-to chocolate if you have one?
Legal battle looms as Trump orders a funding freeze during the review of federal loans and grants. So I'm about to try to explain this again because I still see these videos going around, people talking out the side of their neck, not knowing what they talking about. For instance, it says federal assistance to individuals would not be affected, including Social Security, Medicare, food stamps, student loans, and scholarships. And I swear to you, I see a minimum of at least 10 to 15 of these videos every time I look on TikTok, saying that this is what's happening when it's right there clear as day saying it's not what's happening. But what's really happening is the businesses is getting exposed. You see a lot of these businesses literally run off federal funding, and that's it. They literally make no profit. For instance, if you got like a downtown area, right? It always got to be at least at one store. You see they got the same clothes, the same hats, whatever they selling. You clearly know that they're not making any kind of sales. But yet their business is still running. they're getting free money from the government. Just think about it. They gotta pay their employees somehow, and it appears though they're using their time for the community, in which they're really not. They're really skimming off the community because they're not paying their employees they're getting the grants for. They're taking the extra home in their pockets. Like when the pandemic happened and everybody got them grants to pay for the employees. Y'all remember that, right? And a lot of people committed fraud doing it. But everybody was focused on the little people, but there's literally people doing the exact same thing. They're stealing millions and billions of dollars from the GOV. Another thing, when the pandemic happened, right? And we seen everyone just all of a sudden start working from home. That means all those jobs aren't even real. All the businesses we see aren't even real neither. They're all like fronts to make it seem like they're working, bro, when they're really not. But guess who is working? The people that was enslaved on this land that has the birth rights. Y'all gotta wake up and start correlating everything to each other because it is correlated to each other. They'll make it that much easier to see what they're doing to prevent anything in the future from happening that we already know is about to happen. But again, please wake up, people, and stop talking about things you don't know what you're talking about. All you're doing is leading people down the wrong path, just like you. Anyways, man, y'all know how to keep it. Y'all be gods. Peace.
Some popular snack foods threatened by California's legislature. A new proposed bill would ban some snack favorites like Flaming Hot Cheetos and Doritos from being sold or given out in public schools. The lawmaker behind it says some synthetic food dyes used to make them have been linked to cancer, harm to the immune system, and neurobehavioral issues. A trade group representing the snack makers disagrees and says the move has no scientific backing. Last year, California told some manufacturers to stop using 4 food additives in the next few years. If they don't, they will be pulled off the shelves. The additives are dyes, so red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, blue 1, blue 2, and green 3. And just for context, in certain countries, this stuff is banned, along with a lot of other foods that we routinely eat here in America. Some popular snack foods threatened by California's legislature.
So what we need to do, and I know the other day I was like, yo, let's get together, pool our money, and order stuff from overseas, have it shipped to us. But what we could possibly do that's even probably better than and more likely than us getting together is look at what they're eating over there, what are the, which is similar to us, and see if we can compare and find something here that's as closest to that over there. Maybe we could find, maybe y'all know of a store that imports from over there or has similar stuff from over there. You know, we go to different stores, or you find a store and be like, yo, where'd y'all get this from? And they be like, man, we got this from overseas, and they brought a bunch of stuff back from over there, or they order from over there. If we could locate those stores or similar products to those over there, we'll be in the game. We'll be in the game. I'm telling you. Still so sad, man. May they rest in peace, bro. Each day I'm seeing a new face and hearing a new story about what that person was doing and achieving. Heartbreaking.
Before I go to bed, I really want to send my prayers and condolences to the families of the people who were lost in those planes that lost their lives, because those people were sacrificed. They were sacrificed. I don't know if the government thinks that we're like still stupid and that we're still asleep, but we're not. We're not. We got our ears to everything. We got our ears to everything. We watched that helicopter run right into that plane. We watched the whole thing. I don't care what the news says. And this is for entertainment purposes only. I haven't heard anybody say that in a while, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it so my video doesn't get taken down. And I don't want to make it seem as if I have all the answers, because I don't. But that plane, that helicopter, seeing that, and anybody who is a millennial, a Gen Xer, hell, baby boomer, it felt familiar. I wonder if I'm the only one who thought that it felt familiar. It wasn't as traumatic as that day. And y'all know what day I'm talking about. But it felt familiar. And a lot of people still don't want to believe it. Believe what we heard about what really happened surrounding that day and how those lives were also sacrificed. But the thing that's different this time is that even the president knows it. He knows it too. And he didn't have anything to do with it this time. He didn't. Before I go to bed, I really...
Listen, man, if they ever want to say something or call us out or down us for being conspiracy theorists or having our theories, I would simply look at them and say, you made us this way. You made us like this. We are a product of our environment. And a lot of us turned this way because of the lack of information and the lies. Simply. So when you see people immediately, because I know sometimes it almost comes off as insensitive, but you have to take a step back and ask yourself, why are they being that way? Because we are a product of our environment, and they made us like this.
We're going to get weird. We're going to talk about how Siberian soldiers interacted with extraterrestrials, a UFO, and they were turned to stone, and only 2 lived to tell the tale. The source, the CIA PDF files in the reading room online. They got it from the Russian International. When powers that be were turned over, for some reason, magically, a 250-page document was turned over to them in regards to this very specific incident in Siberia. So first off, I would love to see this file because they claim to have many documented photos of the incident and tons of testimonies as to what happened. As the story always goes, the military was conducting exercises over there, flying their ships, and testing.
Sounds familiar, right? Military conducting what? Experiments or exercises or trainings? Sounds familiar, right? Sounds like something we hear a lot lately. Or the FAA, they approved these experiments or trainings or whatever they were doing out there. I'm just making sure y'all following along.
Testing things out. When this was happening, suddenly a UFO appeared. They said it was a spaceship in an oval shape and that it came out of nowhere. Somebody, unknowingly, shot a surface-to-air missile up at the UFO, which caused the UFO to come down and crash. And out of that UFO, 5 humanoids. They said they had dark black eyes. These humanoids approached all 25 of these soldiers that were on the ground, got very close to them, and what happened next was insane. Basically, they all somehow formed together into a circular object of bright white light, got brighter, and then exploded. 23 of the soldiers were said to have turned to stone. And the 2 that survived were traumatized. The report says that the soldiers, the petrified soldiers, and the UFO were transferred over to a research facility in Moscow. After studying the soldiers that were transformed into stone, they found that the molecular composition was very similar to limestone. Basically, there were notes in that report saying that if this report was in fact true, that we are very underprepared for the technology and such that these specific ETs have. This was on the CIA.gov. Am I shocked at this point? I probably shouldn't be. Let's just take a look at the CIA PDF report on this 250-page report. that they have. I'm just going to post it right here, and you can take a screenshot and then read deeply into it. So what do you think? This is one of the weirder things that I found on the CIA website. Check it out, and then leave your feedback in the comments, and let's talk about this very strange scenario. And keep it here. Keep it weird. We're gonna get weird. We're gonna...
No. No, thank you. If there's ever one website that I don't want to be on, it's that CIA one. I don't know. Well, I know why I have these feelings is because, you know, it's the CIA. It's the CIA. Me clicking on it and them now being tapped to which I feel like they can do it anyway, but I just don't want to pop out on their radar. But me clicking something on that website and now everything in my home is a camera. My TV, my camera is a camera now for them. They tapped into my Wi-Fi and everything like that. Yep. I think like that. I do.
Honey, I don't have just one theory about this American Airlines plane crash at 150-11 saying I'm right, but honey, my brain's working overtime. I know we gotta wait for answers, but honey, I don't trust nobody, and that don't stop my brain from thinking it. I've been everywhere from BIO to the system was hacked, controls taking over, a radical doing radical things, if there was a target on the plane. I mean, you name it, I've thought it. But there is one theory going around that could explain it, but leaves you with more questions than answers. And no, it's not a conspiracy theory. I have problems with it too. Just don't sit right with me, don't make sense. It was just a communication error. Look, y'all, somebody on the helicopter had to have experience, even if it was a training exercise. Now, I know there's a lot of congestion at this airport, and that's been a problem for years. My understanding, the two don't even use the same airspace. And the only video we got, if it's legit, is a country mile away. Allegedly, the theory is the plane is landed. They were told the plane was at 10 o'clock. Suspicion is that they got it wrong. I mean, what, didn't know how to read a clock? They missed this big plane, didn't see it, shining brighter than Santa Claus, brighter than the moon at midnight, and the helicopter and the plane collide at a singular moment at the exact same moment. And I mean, I guess you could buy that story. Footage is far away, it's hard to tell. Maybe it didn't fly into it. Maybe it was like this, kind of up above, and there it is. But if that's true, how many failures happened here? Ain't they got the best military equipment? I mean, what about the radar? Where was the communication? Why did they never respond? I'm sure traffic control was like, hey, there's a plane, don't hit the plane. Now, to me, the airplane's innocent in all this. It's just trying to land. But that Black Hawk can turn on a dime. I mean, maybe they didn't see it, but 6 or 8 eyes, best military equipment in our country. Man, I just have a hard time believing it. I know accidents happen, but with these people, you know, people get mad when people start questioning stuff like they ain't never asked a question in their life. I don't think it's disrespectful to ask questions. I don't think it's disrespectful to be suspicious. There is nobody on this planet that is watching this story right now with enough sense to get out of the rain that thinks this story is 100% believable at this point. I mean, how could you? You know what I'm saying? Either way, time will tell. Odds are, even if it is something, we'll never know it no way. And that's just the truth about it. All we can do is pray for the families and pray for transparency. That's it. What's done is done.
Let me tell y'all something. Y'all remember how them other chicken sandwiches came out that Popeyes put out right before the pandemic hit? And everybody was going crazy because they wanted them chicken sandwiches, but still never had one. Don't go taking y'all up to the Popeyes to get that Don Julio collab. Leave that where the fuck it lay. How the fuck we got a goddamn egg shortage? But y'all finna be producing a whole bunch of chickens. But y'all finna put out a whole bunch of chicken with a collab. But we have a egg shortage. Something ain't making sense.
Listen to me, my people. Hold on, where my kufi? Listen to me when I tell y'all that this is a highly intensive CIA psyop. When motherfuckers used to say, stay woke, they meant for shit like this. I know some people are gonna be like, it's just a joke, it's just a little bit of liquor and chicken. But I promise you, this is a trap, baby. It's a trap. I don't know if it's mind control, if they want you to fall off, if they're gonna destroy your liver. I don't know what it is. I'm afraid that this post might even be having the reverse effect that's intended. But look, listen to me, please, for the love of God, please. Listen to me.
I done already started seeing people receive the box, and it came with like a little, what's the little bottles? The little like water bottles with with something on it. The box came in like a nice box. Like the whole presentation and setup was nice, you know? And I'm already seeing people have it, and as soon as I see it and I see the box and I see them start presenting, as soon as they start to talk, I turn. Because I don't want them to be like, oh man, this is the greatest thing, and now it's in my mind, and now Popeyes is right down the road, and I ain't trying. No. I want to kind of sit this one out and kind of just stare from afar and see, you know, how this goes.
Oh, what Trump is doing is unconstitutional. It's illegal. It's against the law. You think he give a... Seriously, you think he care? ChatGPT gonna keep writing these executive actions and orders or whatever. Trump's gonna sign them. The states are gonna sue and say they're unconstitutional. The state courts are gonna agree, most of them, maybe. But then Trump's administration is gonna come in and appeal that all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court could even say, you know what? That is unconstitutional. Let's not do that. Trump's gonna be like, all right, whatever. All right, then. The court can't make the executive branch enforce the law. They can't make Trump follow the law. Because if he breaks laws as the president, he's immune. He has immunity. This is it. He really gonna have his way with this. Whatever he wants finna get done. Right? And what are the Dems gonna do? Nothing. Talk. They're gonna call on people to do things. Please. And we as the people, we can protest, get in the streets and march and boycott and all that. They're just gonna blow this out of proportion and declare martial law. And now he gets even more consolidated power. This is it. It's too late. It's over.
250 acres are currently on fire in western North Carolina. 250 acres are currently on fire in western North Carolina. Is that loud enough? Let's go. What is it going to take for these people to get the media coverage that they deserve? The people who are still suffering from Hurricane Helene are now suffering because there is a fire that is in the area, one of the worst hit areas of flood from Hurricane Helene. Why isn't this being covered on major news outlets? Where are these people supposed to go? Where? What is it going to take? At this point, I'm almost convinced that for some reason, this is all done on purpose. All on purpose. You can't convince me, you cannot convince me that these people are purposely being punished. I'm so sick and tired of this. I'm sick and I'm tired of this. God, please help them. Please. God, please help them. Somebody help them. 200.
And that's the thing. You saw it one day. I saw it one day in a few, it was spotty in a few areas up on my timeline. And then that was it. It was gone the next day. And I'm like, how? So you can see the frustration, bro, that the people have. And rightfully so.
Both now to the investigation into what led to that horrific crash. Both of the so-called black boxes have been recovered from the commercial jet, are being examined and analyzed. Those black boxes are going to be key to pinpointing what exactly happened in the moments before the deadly crash. CNN's Renee Marsh is following all of this live from Reagan National Air.
Again, my question is why we can't make these planes out of something a lot more, you know what I mean? Just be able to withstand an impact like that. Why we can't make them out of something like that? That is tough enough to withstand a collision from another aircraft. Let's just start there. I mean, we can go further than that, but let's just start there. You got real precious cargo aboard.
Airport. Renee, what is the latest that you're picking up?
Well, let's focus on the victims first, Kate. We can tell you that as of this morning, 14 bodies are still missing, 4 of them still pinned inside of the aircraft, and 2 of the soldiers who were inside of that Black Hawk helicopter have yet to be recovered. We know that recovery efforts will resume soon as sun comes up this morning. Now, we also are expecting the flight manifest with the names of the victims, all of them who were on board the commercial aircraft, to potentially be released today. And we also know that President Donald Trump has plans to meet with some of the victims' families. It is unclear when that meeting will happen. Now, as for the investigation, that is ramping up this morning. You mentioned the black boxes have been recovered from both aircraft, both the airplane as well as the Black Hawk helicopter. The NTSB telling us yesterday that they expect to have a preliminary report with a readout from these black boxes within the next 30 days. Investigators are also waiting for a crane to arrive on the crash site. That crane will be helpful in trying to remove much of this debris. That will be critical in this investigation, as well as the debris will hold clues for investigators. And Kate, this morning we're also learning about staffing in that air traffic control tower. We heard that air traffic control audio in which they warned the pilot of the Black Hawk helicopter about the commercial regional jet, and now CNN has learned that one air traffic controller was actually working 2 different tower positions, directing traffic for both local traffic as well as helicopter traffic. However, this source tells us that that is not out of the norm. Kate?
And Ray, there's also new reporting today about...
But with that much activity and at that particular site, why should that be the norm? All you keep hearing is that's a very busy one. That airport and that area is very busy and congested. So why would you make that the norm then for that? Please explain that to me.
About some other recent close calls at DCA. What are you picking up on that?
Right. So what we have learned is just about a day before Wednesday night's deadly incident that there was another flight approaching Reagan National Airport, and it was forced to abort its first landing after a helicopter came close to its path. So concerning information that there was another situation where a helicopter yet again coming close into its path. And I've spoken to several people within the aviation industry yesterday, and they brought up this idea that it is time to ask the question as to whether these military aircraft should be flying in the same airspace along the same path as these commercial aircraft. Of course, as the NTSB wraps up its investigation, which will be many, many months from now, they will make recommendations that will essentially change aviation safety for years to come, to essentially make sure that this sort of thing does not happen again. But certainly people paying a lot of attention as to whether these military aircraft should be flying in the same airspace as these commercial aircraft around this airport. Kate?
Renee, thank you very much. John?
And as Kate was mentioning, there is also new information this morning on the Army Black Hawk helicopter in the crash. Sources tell the New York Times it appears to have been too high and out of its approved flight path. There's some new information on the pilots of the helicopter as well. Let's get right to CNN's Natasha Bertrand at the Pentagon. Natasha, what's the latest from there this morning?
Well, John, we're still trying to sort through all of the information that we're getting about this Black Hawk, and the Department of Defense, of course, is doing the same. It's interesting that the New York Times reported that this was a helicopter that was flying at above 300 feet, because the helicopters that are training as part of these missions with these Black Hawks, they're supposed to be under 200 feet. And in fact, CNN has reported that the last reading that this helicopter gave and provided to these flight radars and flight trackers was that it was at 200 feet at the time of the collision. So either that was incorrect or something else went wrong here, but that is going to be part of the investigation as well. Now, we know still that the helicopter was on what has been described to us as a pretty routine training mission. This is something that the pilots would have been experienced with, because as we reported, the pilot and the co-pilot, they've had between them about 1,500 hours of flight hours. And so they were not junior pilots. This is not something that they would have been unfamiliar with. However, Pete Hegseth, who is the Secretary of Defense, he did acknowledge yesterday that a, quote, mistake was made and that there may have been an elevation issue. Now, the Times is also reporting that the flight of the helicopter may actually have deviated a bit from its flight path. There are very specific predetermined flight routes that these helicopters are supposed to be taking. And it's our understanding that this helicopter did shift from what is known as flight path 1 to flight path 4, which may account for why it was making those maneuvers at that time. But still, so many questions to be left answered here, including, for example, were they wearing night vision goggles, which may have something to do with their vision being impaired, as President Trump suggested yesterday. So all of these questions have yet to be answered, and I know members of Congress have similar questions. Senator Tammy Duckworth, she also told Jake Tapper yesterday that in her briefing from the FAA, there were more questions about whether this helicopter was on the appropriate flight path. And as Renee mentioned as well, we are still waiting for these two other crew members from this helicopter to be recovered. So far, only one has been, John.
All right, Natasha Bertrand at the Pentagon, raising so many questions. Any one of these slight deviations certainly could have contributed to this disaster, but that is why an investigation is underway.
Recovery efforts are going to be intensifying in the Potomac River this morning as divers continue the search for the remaining victims of this tragic collision. The teams are facing significant challenges underwater in near zero visibility, even though the twisted fuselage rests in just a few feet of water.
The mud becomes an intense problem. The severe lack of visibility means that they are going through an aircraft in braille. And now we're going through an aircraft fuselage that is torn apart. So every foot, every 6 inches that you move, there's a potential of another snag, some potential injury for the divers.
And joining us now is retired Navy captain and Navy diver Bobby Scully. Bobby, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. I just have to.
And I know this is a crazy question, and it's probably they have probably a legit answer. But why don't we try to pull because they're going through parts of the plane underwater instead of just pulling the plane out at this point and then searching the plane or looking through the plane once they remove it from the water? Why wouldn't they do that first? Just a question. They probably have a legitimate reason, though.
Imagining the horrific scenes that many of these divers are going to be encountering is very, very difficult to think about. And I am just struck by how much we owe our first responders because the things that they do for us in the wakes of these tragedies is just phenomenal. And I'm hoping that you can kind of take us inside and help us understand what it is like in a situation like this, especially when you are also facing incredibly adverse conditions, freezing water, that makes it even harder to do this really, really difficult job.
It is. It's a very difficult job, Casey. Thanks for having me on board. This is one of the hardest jobs that I think divers end up doing. And unfortunately, we get called upon to do this more than we like to think. It's hard, rigorous work to do. You heard in your previous piece that, it's cold, it's dark, it's a lot of hazards with the twisted metal and the aviation wire and that sort of stuff. So physically, it's a hard job. Emotionally, it's a hard job too. For a lot of divers, you're just in the mission and you try not to think about the mental aspects of the job, and you put that on hold until after the mission is done. I think a lot of us would say that, we don't think about that until much, much later, but that is something that comes into play, and leadership has to deal with that and make sure that their divers are taken care of. All their first responders obviously have to be aware of that and take care of those aspects. The weather that's coming in, of course, is going to make this job even tougher physically. And it's just something that we really need to give our first responders and our divers a lot of credit for.